DJI has released the latest iteration in its series of handheld gimbal cameras that are small enough to fit in your pocket, packing an updated camera with a larger Type 1 sensor as well as a 2-inch rotatable screen. This creator-orientated camera brings several new features to the table, which could make it the best mini camera system yet, the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Available in basic kit as well as this particular Pocket 3 Creator combo, the latter of which includes beneficial additions that extend its capabilities beyond the standard version, such as this neat carrying case, as well as some added accessories. We'll take a closer look at those shortly. Although concentrating on the star of the show here, the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, we have the same overall style of camera as the predecessors, although gaining a little extra in size and weight too, in order to pack in all the extra features this time round. On the other hand, it doesn't look a lot like you might imagine a pocket camera to, nor, to be honest, do I think it would fare well in a lot of pockets, although saying that, a handy hardshell carry case is included, which does conveniently incorporate some magnetic slots, providing the ability to carry some filters with the kit, and above all else, it does seem to protect the unit somewhat, even though I'm not personally too keen on the open-ended design. It just seems like a bit of a tacked-on afterthought, but more on that later. Back to the unit itself though, while the gimbal makes it physically less rugged than a typical action camera, it does bring the ability to track a subject and introduces automated panning effects, something you can't do with typical standard action cameras of course. The camera itself is upgraded this time round too, packing a 1-inch sensor for exceptional low-light capture abilities, as well as capturing 4K video at up to 120 frames per second, and with D-Log and 10-bit color depth too. Perfect for the semi-professionals out there. Note that the lens surround is magnetic, meaning various filters can be attached with both pace and ease. Otherwise, the handle has gained a professional-feeling dark grey panel with diagonal texture to serve as a grip. Coupled with that stronger lens are multi-directional microphones too, all around the unit in fact, which should make for higher quality audio capture. Anyways, around the back we now have a nice large 2-inch rotating display, double the size of the predecessor. When closed, it sits very flush with the body, with a slight lip in the lower right to make rotating it, which also serves as the unit's power switch, seriously easy, even with gloved hands. That function can be changed to something more useful for you should you prefer, but the rotation itself is nice and smooth, with magnets being used to keep the display in place in either orientation rather firm. It does feel solid too, so although it's too soon to determine how this will fare with time, for now it does fill me with confidence that this was built to last. Nevertheless, beneath the display, just under a status LED and speaker, are the joystick and record buttons in their own small panel, with the joystick being multi-directional, as well as incorporating a click button, while the single accompanying record button can be held to power the unit on and off should the screen rotation be set to something else. Either way, the surround is rubberized while the rest of the device is high quality plastic. Finally, on the base of the device is a single USB-C socket used for data transfer, as well as charge the built-in 1300 mAh battery, which when fully charged can record up to 116 minutes of 4K 60 or 166 minutes of 1080p 24 footage. In addition, and more impressively, the battery can be charged up to 80% in just 16 minutes, all improvements over the predecessor in their own right. As with the predecessors, the Pocket 3 doesn't have any internal storage, so you still need to pick up a memory card to save footage. The micro SDXC slot works with pretty much any card, but you should get one with a decent speed rating. I recommend snagging a 128GB card at a minimum given the Pocket's battery life, and even think it's worthwhile to spend a little bit more to get a 256GB card if possible. All in all, it's actually a really nice design. It's slightly larger and more weighty than the predecessor, which actually makes it feel better in the hand, although it's still a little short to be comfortable in its raw form. Saying that, thankfully the bottom-facing USB-C port can be used to attach various adapters to lengthen the handle, one of which is included with the Pocket 3. In essence, it's a 1-inch cube that clips into the bottom of the main handle, with hooks on either side holding it securely in position, and provides for a slightly longer hand grip, making the unit much more comfortable in the hand. At the same time, this also introduces a tripod thread in the base for attaching to a larger variety of mounts and accessories, as well as a rear-facing USB-C pass-through port for charging the camera without the need to remove this extension. Those prepared to pay extra for the full-on creator combo receive extra accessories that caters for the needs of a broad spectrum of creators. Similar to the small extension, the creator combo includes a battery handle that's almost double the length and clips onto the bottom, now not only making the unit even more comfortable to handhold and use, but adds an additional 950 mAh of battery power, increasing operating time by 62%, and it still has a rare USB-C pass-through for charging even further, along with that handy 1/4" 20 thread in the bottom for mounting to other accessories, such as the included very useful mini tripod, which can be attached to provide an even longer overall handle, as well as a very stable base to sit the entire Pocket 3 on. Perfect for the solo content creators to use with the advanced face active tracking option, for instance. Talking of content creation, the creator combo also includes the DJI Mic 2 transmitter, which automatically wirelessly connects to the Pocket 3 with no further user interaction, and features 8GB of internal storage for saving audio into its internal memory too, while providing the ability to capture the very best audio possible. It even has the ability to start and stop video capture remotely, a great overall solution. Finally, we receive a carry bag to securely store and transport the entire package in. Bear in mind, I did find everything to fit in rather tight though, so if you wanted to add an accompanying charging brick or even a power bank, you'll need to get really creative with where to place it, because you'll struggle to fit it into here. So although it's a nice case, it's pretty much limited to storing only the box contents and little else. Back to the Pocket 3 though, if you've used one of the predecessors, you'll know that the compact display was an issue. The new rotating 2-inch screen solves this for all but the biggest of fingers. Rotate the display to horizontal, and on comes the camera. Rotate it back to vertical, and within 2 seconds it powers down. Unless that is, you can get your finger to the continue button in time. You can change this behavior, however, quickly and easily through the menu system, with a few options, such as rotating to swap between widescreen and vertical recording formats, perfect for content creators who capture from multiple platforms, or leaving the record button as the sole on-off control. Either way, it only takes a few moments to get shooting, and given the range of functions to explore, the organization is logical too, swiping pages in from the side of the display. It'll certainly be familiar to those used to DJI's touchscreen Osmo action camera series. The touch controls are responsive, easy to find, and make for a clean interface. The main screen has an icon for toggling face tracking, along with one to swap the joystick control between gimbal control and digital zoom. The interface also has virtual buttons to quickly swap between selfie and regular recording, as well as one to switch between the sundry recording modes. I do wish DJI had put a mode button on the handle, however, if only to improve the device's accessibility. Instead of buttons, you use swipe gestures to navigate through the camera, swipe down to access the main menu, left to toggle capture options like color space and file format, right for playback, and up to change frame rate, resolution and aspect ratios, all pretty straightforward and intuitive. Bluetooth and Wi-Fi radios are on board for smartphone and accessory connectivity. The Mic 2 accessory, for example, uses Bluetooth to enable remote recording by pressing the side button, as well as audio capture. And it works really reliably too, making the system easy to use solo. Meanwhile, the Wi-Fi handles the smartphone connection, where all of the camera's functions also appear in the DJI Mimo app, available for Android and iOS devices. The app pairs with the Pocket 3 to show a live feed from the lens and provides full camera control. It's especially handy when using the system solo. Just keep in mind that it's not an optional installation. The Pocket ships unactivated, and one of the things the app does is authenticate the camera with DJI servers to start your warranty coverage and initiate the device. I'm not a particular fan of this requirement, but it is thankfully a one-time hassle, and it does quickly and easily update your firmware too. Otherwise, the display screen is refreshing to use thanks to its larger size this time round, making it very similar to an actual action camera style experience. It's bright under strong sunlight too, no issues there at all. As stated earlier though, I would have preferred a more customizable display where I'm free to add functions that are more suitable for my use. Maybe it'll come with a future firmware update. Moving on, the thumbstick works well for general gimbal control and allows for a couple of shortcuts that are pretty standard across the range, including a double tap to recenter the gimbal and a triple tap to enter the selfie mode. The button has a satisfying tactile click too with good feedback. Bear in mind though that if you're looking for finer gimbal control, you'll be left a little disappointed here. Even on its slowest settings, I found it just wasn't precise enough to use for anything remotely cinematic with no easing in or out, for instance. I found it more useful for just reorientating the camera before actually capturing the shot instead. On the plus side though, being a physical gimbal means we have some gimbal modes to switch between. Especially handy is the active tracking mode, which works magically well. Although I would have preferred a physical button to quickly switch between modes on the fly, rather than having to enter the menu system, or even an on-screen shortcut as I suggested earlier. A minor annoyance in the grand scheme of things though. So the Osmo Pocket 3 has a Type 1 CMOS sensor with the entire lens stabilised on a 3-axis mechanical gimbal. It can shoot up to 4K 120 high-speed footage. It has a 20mm equivalent focal length and a fixed f2 aperture. It can also shoot 9.4 megapixel still photos, while maxes out at 4K resolution for video. And boy does it show! For some kinds of video shooting, the DJI Pocket 3 now competes with the likes of Sony's ZV-1F, but with the added benefit of a gimbal for super smooth footage, producing video capture that is smooth and sharp. Colours are vivid and the image is sharp and true to life with really good dynamic range across the board. And with multiple aspect ratios available, the Pocket also suits the needs of creators delivering video to widescreen, vertical or both types of displays. Honestly, I'd go so far as to say this is good enough for even most prosumers out there. Seriously impressive stuff. Unlike most action cameras, you can make big movements and your footage will almost always look buttery smooth. The 3-axis gimbal on the Osmo Pocket 3 works by measuring gyro data just like an action camera, but instead of using the data for digital stabilization, it's used to drive the 3 motors on the gimbal, and it works fantastically well. Autofocus is also much improved this time round. The larger screen makes it easier to see and set focal points, and you have some added flexibility too with a couple of focus modes to choose from depending upon your shooting scenario. The lens focus is fairly close too, so you can use the camera for product presentations and reviews. Focus is nice and quick, no issues there at all. The field of view is completely different to most action cameras too, so it's hard to objectively measure things like sharpness, but the Osmo Pocket seems sharper than most action cameras to me. Since it has a large aperture lens, it also makes for some nice background blur, which does look nice in some scenarios. Those who purchase the Creator Bundle receive the wide-angle lens in addition, which magnetically attaches over the main lens and provides a noticeably wider field of view. When it comes to video capture in lower light, where all action cameras struggle, the Pocket 3 is superb. Where action cameras' digital image stabilization just won't work in lower light conditions, producing grainy results, the Pocket 3 excels since stabilization is maintained by the external motors, meaning the camera can concentrate on its main task. The Pocket 3 has a special low light mode for video that cuts the maximum frame rate down to 30 frames per second, which helps its optics and oversized sensor capture a brighter image. Honestly, if you're after a good overall stabilized image across the frame in low light conditions from a portable and small camera, this is a seriously strong contender. DJI is also taking audio seriously with the Pocket 3, with multi-directional built-in microphones doing a great job of capturing your voice, although also the remaining surrounding noise too. This time though, they're offering the Mic 2 transmitter with the Creator Combo Bundle. Like the company's standalone wireless microphones, this contains a microphone, 8GB of internal storage for off-camera audio backup, and can transmit its sound directly to the Pocket 3. A great overall solution. Since the gimbal allows the camera module to move independently to the hand grip, we have added functionality including the new Active Track 6, which continues to work exceptionally well. The camera will automatically follow your subject, doing a mighty good job of it too. It's a bit better following people rather than objects, but nonetheless, coupled with the DJI Mic 2 from the Creator combo, you have a one-man film crew straight out of the box, and throughout testing it performed flawlessly. We have other shooting modes and options too many to cover in this video review, but whether it's time lapses, panoramic shots, they're all here and present, and when used with the app you can still create short stories and automatically upload to social media too. After your shooting session is over, switch the unit off and the gimbal's built-in magnets lock the mechanism with the lens facing inwards in order to protect itself, and ready it for sliding straight into the camera's protective cover. A neat little trick. So even though the Pocket 3 seems to have it all, there's just one thing I do wish it had. A full 360-degree rotation. Don't get me wrong, it does get most of the way there, around 300 or so degrees from a guess, but I would have preferred a full 360 so I could enable active track and walk around the entire unit with it following my every move. Otherwise, DJI have a solid all-rounder here. All in all, on purely technical grounds, the Pocket 3 is fabulous, providing the perfect device for all kinds of shooting scenarios, and the bigger display and sensor make a huge difference over the previous generation. It's hard to understate how good gimbal stabilized video looks without much practice, and that is helped even more by the simple but generally reliable tracking tools. It's not all positive though. There have been early reports of overheating at high capture settings, especially when activated within the EU, although DJI have been quick to act and recently published a firmware update which seems to have streamlined the software somewhat, so overheating is no longer an issue. You'll still feel heat coming off of the gimbal end, which is normal, although I've never had the camera shut down because of it. In addition, there are some reports of the screen rotation mechanism failing, although these are in the minority for the moment. We'll need to see how it fares over time, but again, nothing I've experienced so far. Add to that, despite being called the DJI Pocket, whether I would actually put one directly into my own pocket is questionable. Definitely not in my phone or wallet pocket or near my keys. It's better to use the case to be fair, but the crucial question is it something you'd put your hand into your pocket for? And the answer, for all sorts of reasons, is a resounding yes, with the proviso that your pockets are deep enough considering this is a rather pricey setup to start with. So unless the content you are creating will benefit from the features, there are cheaper alternatives. Where this does shine though is by being both complex and simple at once, like a system camera. It is the center of a vlogging universe and you can buy most of that universe in the Creator Bundle. Whether it's for video on the move or video where the subject moves, the DJI Pocket 3 left me nothing short of impressed. I'll definitely be using mine more in future.